Every morning you face the same enemy. It does not carry a weapon. It does not announce itself with threats or violence. It simply waits for you inside the warmth of your bed, inside the comfortable numbness of half-sleep, inside the quiet whisper that says just 5 more minutes. And most people surrender to it every single day without even realizing that they are losing a battle that will define the rest of their lives. That enemy is not laziness. It is something far more insidious. It is the slow erosion of who you are supposed to become, one wasted morning at a time. Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated samurai who won over 60 duels without ever losing a single one, did not become unstoppable on the battlefield. He became unstoppable in the hours before sunrise. He understood something that most men never will, that the first battle of any day happens before anyone else is watching, before there are witnesses, before there is applause or judgment. The only opponent in that moment is yourself, and what you do in that private war determines everything that follows. If you cannot defeat your own resistance in the morning, you will spend the rest of the day being defeated by the world. This is not about productivity hacks. This is not about waking up at 4 in the morning because some guru told you it would make you rich. This is about something much older and much more serious. The ancient understanding that how a man begins his day is a declaration of who he is, not who he wants to be, not who he tells people he is at dinner parties, who he actually is when no one is watching and the choice is his alone. The first ancient rule is this: do not negotiate with your body in the morning. The moment your eyes open, the negotiation begins. Your body sends signals. It is tired. It is warm. The bed is perfectly shaped around you. Everything inside the biology of comfort is screaming that 5 more minutes will not hurt anything. And here is what you need to understand. That voice is not your friend. It is not protecting you. It is the same voice that has kept the average person average their entire lives. It is the biological instruction of an organism designed to conserve energy. And in the modern world, that instruction has become a prison. Musashi writes in the Book of 5 Rings that the path of the warrior requires you to think about death every morning, not with morbidity, but with clarity. Every morning that you wake up is a morning that someone else did not get. Every hour that you waste is an hour that is gone permanently and without negotiation. The warrior does not begin his day by asking if he feels like training. He does not consult his mood before sharpening his blade. He rises because rising is the first act of mastery, because the body must learn early and often that it does not lead, it follows. When you negotiate with your body at 6 in the morning, you are not being kind to yourself. You are training yourself to be led by comfort. And a man who is led by comfort will spend his entire life arriving late to every version of himself that matters. So the first rule is to make the decision the night before, not in the morning. Morning is too late, because morning is when your willpower is at its lowest, and your body's arguments are at their loudest. Before you sleep, you decide what time you will rise, what your first action will be, and what you will not allow yourself to do before that first action is complete. The decision is made in clarity. The execution happens in the dark. That is the discipline. The second ancient rule is this: your morning must begin with something that costs you something. The modern world has filled the morning with comfort rituals disguised as productivity. You check your phone, you scroll, you ease yourself into the day with content designed to keep you passive and consuming, and you call this a morning routine. But there is nothing routine about softness. There is nothing powerful about a morning that begins with your thumb sliding across a screen, absorbing the opinions of strangers before you have even stood on your own 2 feet. The samurai tradition understood that the body must be awakened through challenge, not comfort. Movement, cold water, physical effort, mental sharpness, these are not punishments. They are the mechanisms by which a body remembers that it is capable. When you begin your morning with something that costs you something, whether it is the cold of a shower, the burn of a workout, the concentration required by a difficult text, the silence required by honest reflection, you are telling your nervous system the truth about what the day actually requires. You are refusing the lie that ease is the goal. Think about what happens in the body of a man who trains physically every morning before he engages with the world. By the time he sits at his desk, he has already overcome resistance once. He has already proven to himself that morning that he can push through discomfort and come out the other side. That proof does not disappear when the workout ends. It carries with him into every conversation, every decision, every challenge the day throws at him. The morning effort is not just about the body. It is the first data point that his mind uses to measure what kind of day is possible. When that data point says you already won once today, everything else becomes easier to face. The third ancient rule is this: silence before noise. Before you allow the world in, you must first know where you stand. One of the most destructive habits of the modern man is the immediate consumption of external input the moment he wakes. News, messages, social media, podcasts, the endless stream of other people's thoughts, opinions, and emergencies, flooding into a mind that has not yet established its own ground. And then you wonder why you feel anxious by 9 in the morning. You wonder why you feel reactive, scattered, pulled in 10 directions, before you have even had breakfast. The samurai spent time in stillness before battle, not because stillness is comfortable, but because stillness is the condition under which a mind becomes accurate. Musashi was famous for arriving late to his most famous duel against Sasaki Kojiro, not because he was disorganized, but because he spent the morning in a state of absolute internal preparation. While Kojiro paced the beach in fury, Musashi sat in a boat, eyes closed, breathing, centering. He arrived already victorious in his mind. The physical duel was simply the confirmation of what the morning had already decided. Your morning silence does not need to be meditation in the formal sense. It simply needs to be time that belongs entirely to you. Time that is not invaded by the demands and opinions of the external world. Time in which you can hear your own thinking clearly enough to know what you actually believe, what you actually want, and what you actually need to do today. 5 minutes of that silence is worth more than an hour of scrolling. 10 minutes of genuine stillness will reorganize your thinking in ways that no amount of content consumption ever will. The fourth ancient rule is this: begin before you feel ready. The most common lie that laziness tells is that there will be a better moment. A moment when you have more energy. A moment when the conditions are more favorable. A moment when the resistance has passed and you will feel genuinely motivated to begin. That moment is a fiction. It does not exist. It has never existed. Every person who has ever built anything significant has built it in the absence of perfect conditions, without waiting to feel ready, by beginning anyway, and letting the action generate the energy that the waiting was supposed to produce. The Japanese concept embedded in Musashi's philosophy is this: do not seek the ideal moment to begin. Begin imperfectly. Begin slowly. Begin with whatever you have. The water in the ring of water does not wait for the right conditions to flow. It flows constantly, shaping itself to whatever container or obstacle it encounters, never stopping, never arguing with the terrain. Your morning action should have that same quality. Not a heroic burst of perfect execution, but a consistent, non-negotiable flow that begins regardless of how you feel. This is the point where most people fail. They design a morning routine that requires them to feel a certain way in order to execute it. They need to feel motivated to work out. They need to feel inspired to write. They need to feel calm to meditate. And on the mornings when those feelings are absent, the routine collapses. Real discipline is not built on feelings. It is built on the decision that the action happens regardless of the feeling. The feeling is irrelevant. The action is the contract, and the contract is with yourself, which means it cannot be renegotiated based on mood. The fifth ancient rule is the one that separates everything. Protect the first hour with absolute ferocity. That first hour after you wake is not your most productive hour by accident. It is your most creative, most focused, most neurologically clear hour, because it has not yet been contaminated by the demands and distractions that accumulate through the day. Every email you have not read, every problem you have not yet been told about, every social obligation that has not yet activated its pull on your attention, all of that is still waiting, outside the door. And that window, that precious, finite, absolutely irreplaceable window is yours. What you do with it is a decision about who you are becoming. If you fill it with other people's content, you are telling the day that you exist to consume what others produce. If you fill it with distraction, you are telling your most capable self to wait until later, and later never comes, not in the way that hour does. If you fill it with your most important work, your most significant, creative output, your most honest and concentrated effort, you are building a version of yourself that compounds daily, a version whose capabilities will be unrecognizable in a year. Machiavelli, in his study of power and mastery, understood that the people who shape history are not the ones who wait for opportunity. They are the ones who build conditions that make opportunity inevitable. Your morning is the construction of that condition. Every morning you build correctly is a morning that makes the afternoon easier, the week stronger, the month more productive, the year more aligned with who you are trying to become. And every morning you surrender to the comfort negotiation is a morning where that construction does not happen. The debt accumulates invisibly until one day you look at where you are and cannot understand why you are still here, still at this same level, still this version of yourself that you promised you would grow beyond. There is no mystery to it. The morning told the truth the whole time. You simply were not listening. The morning war is not won dramatically. It is not won with a single heroic act of discipline that changes everything overnight. It is won in the smallest possible increments, in the moment when the alarm goes off and your hand does not reach for the snooze, in the moment when the shower is cold and you step in anyway, in the moment when the work is hard and you sit down to it before you feel ready. None of these moments will feel significant when they happen. They will feel ordinary, uncomfortable, quiet. But they are not ordinary. They are the decisions that build the architecture of a man who can be trusted, who can be counted on, who does not break when things get difficult, because he has already proven to himself in private, thousands of mornings in a row, that he does not surrender when surrender would be easy. Start there, not tomorrow. Tomorrow is the promise of the man who is still negotiating with his body in the morning. Start now tonight with the decision. Decide what time, decide the first action, decide what you will not allow. Make the decision in clarity so the execution can happen in the dark, automatic, inevitable, already won before the day has even begun. That is the morning war, and it is yours to win. If you made it this far, something in this already belongs to you. You already knew this, somewhere underneath the comfort and the excuses. You just needed someone to say it plainly. Now, you have heard it. The only question left is the one that only you can answer in the dark when the alarm goes off tomorrow morning, before anyone is watching. What will you do? Whatever your answer is, know this. That answer will define far more than just your morning.